From member to changing gears into business owner and having to think about, all right, I'm buying this existing studio. For those that are listening, what should they be looking for before they sign anything? What did you learn during that process?
I feel like I learned some really hard lessons.
Today's guest is Rachel Whitlock, Senior Project Manager at Grow Therapy and franchise owner of Hotworx. From member to franchise owner, Rachel shares her secrets on how to successfully operate a studio.
You have to work on retention the minute they sign up. Your first week as a member of a gym, your behavior during that week is very indicative. I think it's really important to have a team who is invested. They have skin in the game and they are participating in the upside. They have a stake in it. Then retention and growth is everyone's job.
This episode is a playbook for franchisors and franchisees who want to understand what actually keeps members paying, what reduces attrition and churn, and how to scale without the burnout. Welcome back to the Owner Seat Podcast, the show for fitness and wellness operators, franchisors, and franchisees who don't just want growth. They want clarity, credibility, and businesses that last. Today's episode is for every operator who's realizing the real game isn't more leads. It's retention, it's operational reliability, it's building a business that doesn't depend on the owner being the glue. My guest today is Rachel Whitlock, a Hotworx franchise owner in Spanish Fort, Utah. What makes Rachel different from the average franchise owner is her day job. She's a senior project manager at a high growth company where she focuses on the reliability of the supply side, building guardrails that reduce avoidable cancellations and protects retention. My favorite word all year in 2026. She also teaches product strategy as an adjunct professor at BYU's Marriott School of Business. So she doesn't look at a studio like a place with workouts. She looks at it like a product, member journey, friction points, systems, and retention loops. And she's candid that she's acquired Hotworx as a financial investment and learning opportunity, then used her tech background to improve growth and retention while building a team that runs the day-to-day. This episode is a playbook for franchisors and franchisees who want to understand what actually keeps members paying, what reduces attrition and churn, and how to scale without the burnout. Rachel, welcome to the Owner Seat Podcast.
Thanks so much, Albert. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. So good to have you on. And we were chatting off camera. And what I didn't mention at the top here is you also worked in the product department when it came to Owlet. And I mentioned to you my middle son, Henry, he's 6 now and he's doing fantastic, but he was born with Wolff Parkinson's white. And for anyone that doesn't know, he had a little extra strand or has an extra strand that speeds up his heart rate. And so my wife and I, Danielle, we were looking for the perfect product. Obviously, we were anxious. I mean, he was just coming out of the hospital and the incubator and all of that. And we wanted a product that would let us know how he was doing with oxygen and his heart rate, of course. And I got to tell you, thank God that you and the team created such an amazing product. It got us through a ton of tough nights, and our little Henry is thriving now. And I got to say, you and the team were behind it, and you didn't even know it. So just wanted to say thank
That's
you.
awesome.
It's so cool. It was such an amazing product, great brand, the customer service. I mean, and then now getting to know you, it's really cool. They obviously hire really talented people. So yeah, so glad to have you on.
Very cool to work on a product that, changed people's lives. And, since that experience, I've tried to look for my next opportunities to really kind of fill that. Like, I want to do good in the world. We wake up, go to work, and we spend most of our time on this earth working. And I want to do work that really makes a difference. And so Owlet was kind of the start of that journey for me. And Hotworx is just part of it as well.
Yeah, so let's chat about that. So I mentioned there, you actually described Hotworx as a financial investment, but also a learning opportunity and clearly a way to channel that servant mindset, right? To help others, to change their lives. What made you pull the trigger? What was it about the Hotworx franchise network that you really liked?
Yeah. So I've always wanted to own a business. As a kid, I kind of imagined me owning a bakery. Like, I don't even bake, and I don't think the world needs more bakeries. So now as an adult, throughout my career had this, kind of childhood dream in the back of my mind. And when I discovered Hotworx, I was actually just kind of dragged in by my sister-in-law, who was a member working out here. And I came in and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I get it. I
Mm.
see how this works." And I just instantly clicked for me. I signed up that very day and started working out here and just absolutely loved it. It's the first thing that really worked for me.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like it was really improving my life personally. Then my local studio came up for sale, and it was very opportunistic. I wasn't in the market for a franchise. I wasn't looking at all of these different other options. It was just my exact studio was for sale, and I was like, "This is it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna own my own thing." And my tech career has been, often focused around retention and member growth. And so I felt like, hey, maybe there's some things I've learned that I can apply.
So cool.
It's definitely been a growth opportunity that I've learned a ton.
Oh, I bet. And I can't wait to chat about that. And what's interesting is many of the audience out there, whether they're franchisors, franchisees, business owners, can completely relate coming from, I was actually a member, I used this product or service or, studio. But I don't think I've heard many that said, hey, that actual studio became up for sale. So what an amazing story. It's like this not only was something that
Yeah.
I was affiliated and super loyal to, and it was part of your lifestyle, but then you had this opportunity to jump in and say, "Hey, let me run this thing and go and impact others the way it's impacted me." How cool. So, as you went through the process, let's talk about that because from member to then changing gears into business owner, right? And having to think about, all right, I'm buying this existing studio. Now I need to get into some of the due diligence, right? And what I wanted to ask you is for those that are listening, what should they be looking for before they sign anything? What did you learn during that process?
Yeah, I feel like I learned some really hard lessons. So I've now owned this studio for 2 years and it's been great overall. But I will say that, looking back at that time when I was so excited, I felt all this time pressure from the sellers. And I also felt like if I don't jump on this, I'll never find something like this. And so I think I didn't negotiate as much as I should have, do as much due diligence as I should have. And, my skill set in my career has always been like, I'm really good at kind of pushing through barriers, making things happen that are hard. And I found it, very difficult to find funding, like to finance
Right.
the sale
Yeah.
because the studio had been kind of stagnant, like not growing, just, kind of hanging in there around break even for a couple of years. And so when I took it to banks to try to get SBA loan, they were like, "Yeah,
Right.
this doesn't really pencil for us."
Yeah.
And instead of
The
seeing that red
algorithm, the
flag and being
algorithm
like,
says it's too risky.
exactly, the AI says no. So I actually just said, "I think the banks are wrong. I see a huge opportunity here that they're not seeing. I know I can grow this." And so I kinda pushed through those obstacles without really listening to those obstacles. And, now that I'm in the business, I'm seeing like, wow, it is hard to grow in this area. There are some big obstacles that made it difficult. And so I wish I would have pushed harder on the negotiation, like used those data points as leverage to get a lower price.
I'm glad you went through that, and actually a lot of people that will reach out to me, I always say banks are my best friends, but it's really that. It's not that they're really my best friends, and yes, we have great relationships, but to your point, it's finding those KPIs, those data points that influences that yes to happen, whether it's the algorithm, right? Because there is some risk assessment, but also the underwriter and those that are in the lending department, they have to understand it. And sometimes the subjective is a big part, but backing it with those KPIs that you're mentioning. But I love that you're reflective on it moving forward, right? Something you can take with you. And for those that are listening, what a great learning opportunity. So thank you for sharing that. And so obviously you have a team on the day to day and you're supporting that. But for a lot of owners out there, when they move from like the member or maybe even corporate America, and you're doing a ton of things, like how do you determine like what gets delegated? What do you still own? Like how did that transpire?
Yeah, I've had some really good lessons here too. When I first started, I really kind of focused on the defense, the paying the bills, keeping the lights on, filing the tax returns, like doing all of the admin stuff that I couldn't really delegate, and left the offense, growing the business, building business partnerships, trying to get new members in the door to my team. And I wish I had stepped in more earlier because now I'm taking a driver's seat on the growth side.
Yeah.
Because I realized that in outsourcing to even a general manager who I'm paying, 50K a year or something, they may not actually be the best suited for those, especially those B2B partnerships.
Right.
And I found that that is one of our best growth channels, and I
Absolutely.
really need to step in and do that myself.
Good for you. A way to identify that. That's amazing. And how did, like,
Yep.
you mentioned being in the tech industry, one of my big
Mhm.
favorite words this year, as many owners are realizing space utilization is important. I'm noticing the studios are actually getting smaller from a square footage because of the unit economics. Just when you think about occupancy costs or even the build out construction costs, they're rising. And so we're trying to figure out,
Yeah.
what is that member point where you're breaking even or obviously cash flowing, and can we do it with less square footage and utilize the space that we have far more efficiently to yield more profit, right? So the big thing though is, well, if you're going to have fewer members, each one that you lose is a big impact, right? From the base. So you're big on retention and avoiding cancellations with your experience. So how did you translate that to fitness and in the wellness industry? How did you set up a system to avoid that, what the industry's been known for, this like repeating churn, which I find unacceptable, but sometimes it just becomes a norm. 40, 50% churn is fine in our industry. I'm like, no way, that shouldn't be the case if we're really focusing on it. How did you take your experience and change that?
Yeah. So Hotworx is a pretty decent retention percent as a whole compared to the industry. Bought the studio, we had about 9% churn, which is still pretty good, but I've since got it to 5% churn,
Amazing.
focused on the early member journey. You have to work on retention the minute they sign up because I actually can't remember the exact stat, but something like your first week as a member of a gym, your behavior during that week is very indicative, like almost 90% indicative of what you're going to be doing throughout the life of your membership. And so when you sign up a new member, something we started doing is saying, okay, now you got the app downloaded, how you use the studio. Let's book your first session together. So we get them on the books as a member to come in and work out so that they have, you know, someone pulling them to come in and do their first workout here. And, following up, how was your workout today? Making sure we don't just lose sight of that. And I think it's really hard to do because, in our system, it's not like intuitively set up. You kind of are, your eyes are drawn to the next lead. That's your next task. And so you're not thinking about the lead just closed 2 days ago. You're thinking about who can I call, who needs to come in. So you're good. Yeah. If you can get people to use the membership, they're not going to cancel.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the second KPI that I've been chatting about a lot is frequency, right? And then obviously there's utilization, but frequency, and that takes a lot of work, right? You're right. If your focus is solely on new ad, the next lead, the next walk-in or what have you, and you take your eye off the ball when it comes to frequency utilization, you're gonna have experience issues, and experience issues lead to that churn, right? That to that attrition. So I love that
Yeah.
you have your team, and you even mentioned it. I liked it because I played college football, so now I'm with you on offense and defense.
Yeah.
You have to look at both offense and defense very equally. They're both very important. You can have the top of funnel rocking all day long, but if that bottom of the funnel is wide open and your churn is up there, I mean, 4 points for those that are listening. I mean, every point of churn that you can improve on your attrition. I mean, that's thousands and thousands of dollars. So really, really great work there. And I love that you focus on it from the onboarding phase, 7 days and 30 days. And it seems like you have a really good process on knowing what are those friction points that make people fall off. What are some of the, if you could chat about it, any like policies, rules, guardrails that you implement with your team that maybe is not coming from the franchisor per se HQ, but you've actually instituted yourself to say, these are the best practices. This is how we're going to do it here at our Hotworks. Is there anything you've put in place?
That's a great question. I would say Hotworks, and I don't know about other franchises, but is pretty supportive and gives us a lot of good materials and, good ideas on processes. I've simplified a lot of what they've given us. It's almost too much. It's like,
Mm,
whoa, too many spreadsheets and
that happens.
checklists. let's just keep it simple,
Right.
So I've changed the way we do commission payments a little bit to our team. I think it's really important to have us a team who is invested. They have skin in the game, right? If you're just hiring someone at minimum wage or about there and they're just cleaning the gym, they're not really incentivized to get to know everybody.
Mhm.
When people walk in the door, they don't know their name. Why would they? But if they have skin in the game and they are participating in the upside, they
Mm.
have, kind of a stake in it, then retention and growth is everyone's job.
Doing that with some type of bonus structure, incentive plan, variable compensation, or recognition? How do you do that? Because I think a lot of people, one of the things I hear a lot about that I'll support with is comp plan structure. I'm with you. I come from the world of economics. And so incentives is like one of our favorite words in economics, right? It's like, what is the incentives? Why do people do the things that they do? Or behavioral economics is probably even better to shout out. How are you specifically doing that so that every team member has some type of skin in the game?
So the first thing we do is determine what's a quota. And we've decided just very easy, you should sell one new membership for every 10 hours worked. If you can sell more than that, so every month I kind of pull from our payroll system how many hours you worked. And let's say you worked 200 hours this whole month. So let's see how many people you actually brought in. If it was less than 20, I'll pay you 15% of all of the people you signed up, their kind of onboarding fees, everything we collected in cash from them in that month. If you went above and beyond and you got 21 or 25 or 30 members, then I'll pay you 30%.
Maybe.
And so
Wow.
that quota is like a really big milestone for everyone. I also do retail bonuses. So if you sell $1,000 in retail, you get 10% of everything you sold. And so, getting our team to be, aware of what people like. Oh, I saw you eyeing that cute tank top, or hey, have you tried this new supplement? I think you'd really like it. Can really incentivize them to get to know the members as well.
So cool. I absolutely love that the entire team has an ability to make more than what they're, and I'll call it a base. And they have a piece of the pie, right? They can contribute to the large, and everyone loves that, right? You see that on team member engagement, comments, and scores. They want to be part of something bigger, and then also have incentives to be able to make more. And you've clearly laid that out. So I can only imagine if I were to go to your studio and survey the team members, they're loving it because that's really a big initiative that you've created there, and that's great. At least a good engagement, and obviously people will stay longer because team member experiences. I always say a good team member experience leads to a great member experience. What are your thoughts on pricing? And I'm not familiar how Hotworx the franchise system does it. Do you have empowerment to change prices? Is that a discussion with HQ or is that pretty much set out?
Kind of set structure, what they dictate. We have two kind of membership packages. One is $60 a month, one is $80 a month. It's impossible to go higher. And I wish we could because I feel like it kind of puts us in this weird middle ground
Mhm.
where you have, the Orange Theory and the
Right.
F45s around 120 a month. And then you have the local rec centers and the Vassas of the world at $30 a month. And so we're kind of in the middle in a weird place that makes us look competitive to the big gyms, but maybe it seems lower value. And
Yeah.
so I'm not loving the price right now.
It's a little, yeah, it's
I wish we didn't.
susceptible to a bit of a squeeze, right? And we saw that in the mid-tier, and this is
Exactly.
completely different, but in the world that I come from, you'll see 24-hour fitness, gold, LE Fitness. They actually got to a point where EOS, Crunch, Anytime, and Planet, Equinox, Lifetime, and the boutiques started to squeeze them, right? Actually, you had less people spending time in the middle when they had either I want high value and I'll pay for it, or you know what, I just need just the normal things, the basic things, and I'll pay the minimal for that. So it's interesting that you say that. So what are your thoughts on that? How do you, because I'm sure a lot of the audience feels very similarly there. What can you do to change that support? Is there a committee you can speak to? How does that work?
Yeah, they do have like a franchise council and a representative for our area that we can talk to. So I've given that feedback. But, despite that challenge, like we've been able to overcome it by, trying to really understand every person that walks in and
Yeah.
where they're at. You can kind of tell if someone's, the price is not the big issue for them. Is this a right fit for me?
Right.
Or if they're a college student or, someone who price is really the main question for them. And we can be a little flexible if it's that case. We're able to give, first responder discounts.
I love.
I can also, as I start to unveil all of the value they get, kind of, find a package for them that works. We also require the purchase of a Hotworx mat and towel to use our facilities because you
Okay.
work out inside of an infrared sauna,
Right.
and those things will just melt
Oh,
your
I bet.
traditional yoga mat.
I bet.
So we have
I
a really
can't even
nice yoga mat
imagine
set.
though, like the mat, the weights, how many calories you're burning. Because you actually, for everyone, if you're viewing this, you can see that Rachel's actually in one of the, or you were earlier in one of your saunas. She was giving me a tour of her place. Amazing. I had no idea there was an actual gym in Hotworks there. I mean, it's beautiful. So really good design.
Yeah, it's cool. We have 9 infrared saunas here. Each sauna can fit up to 3 people on a yoga mat. And we have some infrared saunas that have equipment. We have cycles, rowers, and ellipticals in the sauna. So you get to work out in the sauna, but then we also have free weights in the back. But yeah, so
It's
I
amazing.
can't remember what the question was.
Well,
What are
let
we
me get to
talking
this
about?
one because actually I was really curious, and I know there's a lot of franchise owners, franchisees that have been thinking about this and just they don't have the tech background, right? And so you're seeing it online, right, on social media, you're hearing about it everywhere, right? You go to any conference nowadays and AI is the topic. So you come from the tech background. How can those listening,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you use technology, if you do, within the studio space just to save time, whether it's your time, your team members' time, or even providing a better experience? Is there anywhere where that you've actually plugged in any type of technology or tool that's outside of the normal tech fund, right? Outside of the normal kit that's provided?
Well, I am working on getting Hotworks franchisor to approve the use of an AI phone caller.
Okay.
The idea is that, when you get a new lead, you want to call that lead within 2
Right.
minutes. And that's really hard to do because your team might be talking to someone else or cleaning the bathroom and then they've missed that 2-minute window. It's almost impossible to get. There's a couple of tools out there that just call them for you. And it's an AI robot taking the call and it's kind of just giving the lead some basic information and it's actually pretty good. Like I've tried a couple of them. So I wish I want to get that approved. In terms of getting leverage from AI for ideas, like I'm putting together a couple of events for
You
the
have one
spring.
tonight, it sounds like.
And I have one yeah, tomorrow morning
Tomorrow.
we're gonna do a bit kind of 4-year anniversary event for our studio.
Amazing.
So as I was kind of planning some of the next events, I was thinking, we should do, I don't actually know what we should do. Let me just ask AI. And so I put in like, what are some good event ideas we can do for the spring? And
Yeah.
so, it gave me a whole bunch of ideas like, oh, you could do a wellness fair. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. What are some local businesses in Spanish Fork who I should reach out to? And it gave me a list and I just
Mhm.
called, it would just kind of sped up the process a little bit. I also like to use ChatGPT voice in the car.
Yeah.
So I drive, 15 minutes to the studio. It's not far, but better use of my time than to chat with AI verbally just to say, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. Like this employee is not performing. How can I deal with it? And just kind of get advice from someone who's just always there. It's someone, something, and just riff with.
I love it. I do something similarly. I love voice, and I actually think one day we'll look down upon using our phalanges, our fingers for writing anything or typing anything. It'll just be all
And
verbal.
art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. But last questions for you, just to respect your time. I know you got a lot going on, and you're in the studio now. So, what does next steps look like? Are you looking to? You mentioned that you're heavily involved now in the offense of growth. Are you looking to expand? Does that mean additional units, or does that mean really growing the studio that you have about to celebrate 4 years tomorrow? What's in the plans?
Yeah, I have thought about expanding and decided against it for now. I feel like there's so much more potential in this studio. And my goal right now, we have about 300 members. My goal is to get it to 1,000 members. And at that point, I'd like to expand. So we're focused fully on growth. I think there's kind of an awareness gap, something I'm working to figure out. So social media presence, more on top of it, posting 4 times a week, posting to stories every day and like just building a following
Yeah,
and, partnering with a lot of local businesses to help. I've actually been trying to get all of the local businesses in my area to come in for an employee appreciation event.
love it.
So I'm just saying to, the restaurant across the street, like, hey, It's Employee Appreciation Month in March. Come on in. Let's do an event for your employees. It's totally free to you. And then their employees become fans and get a membership. I can put in, flyers into their business. And then when people come up and say, oh, that's an interesting flyer, what's Hotworx? The employee knows exactly what it is and they sell it for me.
Brand
So that's
ambassadors.
kind of my next play to get
So
growth.
smart. I love that. And you know what I love about your answer, right? Because many can say, yeah, I want 2 to 10. I want to go all out. And what I love about what you do is you're being very methodical of what expansion looks like. Sometimes location two is it's not always the best idea when you still have a little bit more juice out of the squeeze of your flagship, right? And so I love that you're taking a very methodical, slow approach to this because you see far more potential. And I think there's a lot of franchise owners or franchisees that are listening to this that need to think about that because at times I see that we're expanding too fast. And for anyone that's done that, the tightness of cash that it could occur. It's very difficult to roll back from. And so I love that you're doing that, Rachel. So good. You have a ton of best practices that we're taking away today. So it's so good. I have one last question. Have any of your students done their capstone project on your studio yet? And if they haven't, I can't believe it.
It is a very shocking thing that I have not had someone do that. But the reason I have started that program at BYU, basically just to quick overview, as a product manager in my full-time job, I have often mentored students or young professionals who want to get into product management. And it's really hard. It's one of those like you can't get in without experience. So how do you get experience to get in? And so I created this program which connects students with local tech businesses for an internship. And it's free for the employer. And the student's not paid because they're getting credit. So it's like a course. And so we've structured it in a way that like allows them to get that experience. And so it wouldn't make a ton of sense for them to do it for me because I don't need to hire a product manager. But that's a good idea. Maybe I should offer it as an
Yeah,
option.
it'd be fun. That'd be so fun just to get another pair of
Yeah,
eyes from the educational
totally.
landscape. How cool. Well, I really appreciate your
Yeah.
time. This was so good. I think a lot of operators needed to hear this today as they're listening or watching. Retention is also,
Yep.
and sometimes even more important than even the top of funnel. So thank you for going through that. For people that want to reach out to you, learn more about Hotworx, or even the one right there in Utah, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on LinkedIn. You can also call our studio or look us up. I got a great bit.ly link. It's bit.ly/HTWX. That goes right to our website and you can reach me from there.
Amazing. And for those listening, if this is your first time tuning in and you're hearing some of this terminology around unit economics, profitability, churn, and attrition, and you're needing help for any fitness or wellness operator out there that wants cash visibility, or as I mentioned, unit economics or pricing structure, comp plans, you want a stronger finance back office, make sure to reach out to me as well on LinkedIn or at strategointel.com. This is another episode of the Owner Seat Podcast. I'm your host, Albert Ramos. And as I always mention, every episode drops every Monday and Friday at 8 a.m. Central. And we'll see you next time. Rachel, thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Thanks. You too. Appreciate it.
Have a great event tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
A pleasure.